So let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and evening to everyone joining us today from across the world. It's a pleasure to have you be a part of this Vynners community. We're recording this event today, so a big welcome to any of you watching this on demand as well. Today is the 9th installment of our Vynners community, and we have two speakers for you today from SGN, Scotiabank Networks, and Petroleum Development Oman, sharing their insights. Unfortunately, one of our speakers, Andrew McLean, isn't able to join us today, but we are in the brilliant hands of Will, who will be in the session with us. My name is Shrey, the Senior Digital Marketing and Events Lead for Vyntelligence, and I'm just going to briefly introduce the event for you. While I do, please do take this opportunity to comment your name, where you're working, where in the world you are at the moment, in the chat, so that we can all get to know each other a little better. Please feel free to use this chat throughout the event as well to ask questions for our speakers or from the Vyn team. Where possible, we'll respond directly in the chat, else we'll pick these up at the end in our Q&A section. So what do we have in store for you today? First, since this is our 9th session, I'm going to give a brief overview of the Vynners community, how it started, what it means, and why you're all here. Then we'll quickly jump straight into the exciting bit, the part that you're all here for, Vynning stories from Fulton Morrow, Joe, and William Dodds as well. Next, we'll summarize their top tips for you, so you have some tangible steps that you can take back into your work to help implement transformative change, to empower your communities for faster field and customer service with video intelligence. Then, and this is one of my favorite parts, our customer success manager, Mother, will announce our star Vynners. We'll take a couple of minutes to tell you why they've been chosen as star Vynners, what a star Vynner is, and then present them with their certificates. And maybe they'll feel honored enough to give a little speech. So I look forward to that. Finally, our VP for Customer Success, Vineet, will, who some of you might already know, will help end the session with a Q&A section where we'll clarify any questions that you might have, add to any excitement, and answer any queries. Today's session is around empowering communities for faster field and customer service with video intelligence. Mother, if we can go to the next 2 slides, please. The purpose with which we started the Vynners community was to share knowledge and learnings with our community, all of you. Each customer, prospect, user, influencer, and team member is constantly learning and gaining new insights from out in the field, from working with other people, on how innovation is helping us excel in driving efficiencies with the work that we do. The Vynners community is the forum where we ask you, members of our community, to come together to learn, share, and succeed. Our purpose from the start has been to help busy professionals simplify their work life through effectively applying innovation and seeing benefits from a visual, data-centric approach. And we're so lucky to have seen this firsthand. Our growing community now spans over 20 countries. And we're all aligned from across the world to our core values here at Vyntelligence, which is a common purpose to simplify business operations, to bring agility and efficiency at work, and embrace safety and sustainability at the core of everything that we do. So today we're here to say a big thank you to each one of you who has joined us. We want to celebrate the Vynners who have been with us on this journey of innovation and transformative change. Whether we can have the next slide, to make every day at work faster, safer, and simpler. We've got a great session lined up for you today. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first star speaker, Joe Morrow from PTO. Joe is an experienced, highly trained and versatile manager with over 40 years experience in logistics, operations, and health and safety. He has a strong background in senior management, operations, and team direction setting with a specific and detailed knowledge within the Oman road safety and lifting areas. Currently, his role is in development of local staff to upskill and stretch their capabilities and capacities through coaching and mentoring, acting as a subject matter expert on vehicle standards, as well as inspection of fleets, uses Vyn for over 430 HGV and 50 buses as an assurance tool. Joe, thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us some of your key insights and some top tips. So as I just mentioned, Joe, you have decades of experience in the vehicle inspection and health and safety fields. In your time, what role have you seen technology play for service inspections and efficiency so far?
Technology's always been there. It's always, as vehicles and equipments generally get more technically capable, then the technology and supporting that has to be keeping up with them as well. We started with, for example, in brake testing equipment, we would start with like a gyroscope, where you sit the gyroscope in the vehicle, drive the truck down the road, stand on the brakes, and that will tell you how the braking efficiency in the heavy goods or any other vehicle is actually functioning. Nowadays, it's much more tech savvy. You can have plug-in into your diagnostics in your vehicle, as you do with a lot of cars nowadays. You can have digital brake testers, roll brake tester, roads, etc. So technology is always advancing, and it's important that we keep up with it in the motor vehicle industry, especially when we're talking about safety of equipment. It's really critical.
Amazing. That's very insightful. And in part of that, in all the work that you've been doing, what have you noticed and seen has been the value of video, the sort of show and tell aspect of video? And are you able to give us a couple of examples or something from your experience on how you've seen the value of video being really helpful to your industry?
One of the big things is, I'm from my trade background, I'm a vehicle examiner, and I've been involved, as we said, in logistics and vehicles for a good number of years. I've got a very young workforce that are locals, very well educated, very well experienced in certain parts of what their job tasks are within logistics, but not as experienced on vehicles, especially heavy vehicles. So we gave them a one-day insight training course to identify key parts, and then gave them Vyn and said, go and video doing an inspection on the vehicle. Just follow the checklist, do the video and see what you find. And what we found was some critical events. We found wheels hanging off, suspensions broken, as well as a brake booster that wouldn't have been identified. And that allowed us to intervene immediately. And it was the operator who did it. It was before he'd even told me. He actually did the intervention immediately because he realized something was not right, just from taking the video and looking at his video. So that had the potential for us to prevent a rollover. And within our industry, rollovers tend to result in fatal consequences. So from our perspective, that was save a life. And anything that will help us save one life, then it's worth its weight in gold for us, certainly.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so hard to, you can't even quantify how much the value of keeping the safety at the utmost and, keeping preventative measures. And if video can help do that, then that's an amazing example to think about. You've worked with a multicultural community of drivers and of varied nationalities, given where you are in Oman. How easy was it for this diverse workforce to adopt and perform with the implementation of a new technology? And how was it kind of rolling that out for you?
It was super easy. The guys, it's such a simple platform. It's very process driven, obviously, and it just allows ease of use. If you know how to use a smartphone, then you know how to use Vyn. The training, it took minutes. Once the guys got over their initial login hurdles, Wi-Fi access, etc., at our sites, then that was us. We were up and running, and then it's just about refining it, and that's where one of the chat functions I find really useful, because if I'm remotely watching at another part of in the yard while somebody's doing it, I can see their Vyn immediately, and I can then immediately coach them and say, stand a little bit further back, move the video inside or underneath the vehicle, so as that they can get more focused on what they're actually looking at, so that we can get that data and have that physical record. So the fact that it's language proofed as well, when the guys are doing their voice notes, they can do it in English, they can do it in Arabic. We've got people who speak Swahili, who speak Urdu, multiple languages, and they're all more than comfortable because it's in their own tongue, and they're more comfortable than speaking. So it takes away inhibitions, which I found was a really, really useful tool. And we can review that in the office with them on a one-to-one and say, so what did you mean by that? So we can actually get what their understanding of what they saw out of it which is great for coaching and developing.
Yeah, I mean, having various different ways that you can engage with your community is something that can help with adoption and getting people to feel comfortable to actually use something that brings in. So that's really, really brilliant. We know that there is, quite often, there is an aging workforce, and there is a not enough resources and expertise currently in and around the industry. Could you talk a little bit about how, the young people that you have in your team who are still building and still learning, and how implementing a new technology with video intelligence like this has been helpful for the less experienced people in your team that you're working with?
It allows me to, without singling people out and putting people under pressure where they're being picked on, if you like, for want of a better phrase, it gives me the opportunity to pull them to the side and actually develop them as individuals rather than as a collective. If one guy's going and doing it in 30 minutes, then that's fine. If another guy's taking 40 minutes, again, that's fine. We can coach them and get them to go quicker eventually when they're more comfortable with what they're seeing. Because our biggest thing was, if you see something in the video that doesn't look right, it's not right. And that you need to flag. And just flagging that part of it alone it was the most critical part, especially for the younger people. I say younger people, they're all mature employees, but they certainly less experienced, but they're more than comfortable actually making that intervention now, which is what I want them to do.
Brilliant, brilliant. So we've spoken a little bit about the diversity of the communities that you have as your working community as a whole. How does having a new technology like this improve the safety of this community? Do you think introducing a new video technology for self-audit, driver video, or self-inspection has made your working communities more aware, proactive, and safer?
Definitely. As I said in my earlier example, if we last year we stopped in total 5 vehicles, that all had potential faults on them that had been through our inspection process or were about to go through our inspection process, and very likely would have been missed, would not have been seen, because this was much more rigorous, because we've actually got video. You put the phone on your end of your arm or the tablet on the end of your arm, you can put that underneath the vehicle without putting yourself underneath the vehicle. So you're taking away your other risks and reducing your exposure, which is massively better for us. It's also, with the length and breadth of Oman, you can fit UK inside Oman quite comfortably. And we operate, to use our clients' example that they use with us, our clients are international oil and gas company. We do more kilometres per year than they do in the whole of their international operation. So our kilometres driven is huge. 320 million was last year, and that's quite excessive. So to get somebody that's in one end of the country, if you like to use the UK as an example, if somebody's in John O'Groats and I'm in Land's End, I can actually see very, very clearly what's going on at that distance, and I could advise the team there on what to do to go forward, whether to stop the vehicle or whether it's taken for repair or whether it's something else entirely, which is much, much better than me flying all the way down, spending a day travel each way. So I've now got a real-time intervention as well as a real-time solution, and that's much, much better for me.
I love that. You've mentioned about how not only does it help improve safety of your communities, but also expands the scope of work that you can do, because now you have further capabilities available with video technology. And also to have things like, you not flying around or going to different places and having that real-time remote assurance from your teams means that you're also saving on travel costs and pollution and carbon miles. So really, really good example. Thank you. Let's talk about the data side of things. You mentioned to me earlier that you found that where it used to take somewhere like 45 minutes for an inspection before, it now only takes about 25 minutes with the video technology like Vyn that you're using. You now also have an auditable trail from every inspection every day. Are you in a better position to deal and perhaps negotiate with your clients and subcontractors because you have all of this data now supporting you?
Yeah, very much so. It's much clearer now. It's easier. Last year we focused on steering tires last year. Our data on steering tires, we were very concerned with the standard of tires that were available to us. So we put some stringent stipulation in. The Vyn allowed us then to manage that and identify it very quickly during the inspection. If it didn't meet the standard, then it wasn't allowed to trip, which took the vehicle off the road straight away, which from our perspective was great. And it was about using data, not just for building data. You know, I've got a ton of data on one corner and I'm not using it for anything. This was allowing us to use the data that we saw. This year we've had a different focus on failures. We're looking at the fifth wheel coupling, the connection between the heavy goods vehicle and the trailer. And Vyn does exactly what I want it to do. It allows the team to focus on that so we can start to see failure much sooner. If I can see failure earlier, then I've got preventative maintenance enhancements, reduction in wear and tear. I can get something repaired before it fails rather than wait till failure and then do repair, rebuild. So from my perspective, the data, how we use it is the next thing. And that's one aspect of it. And the second aspect is as well as in coaching and developing the teams that we're mentoring. We'll identify people who are good at certain areas who may have gaps, and it helps me make sure I can backfill their skill set so that I can increase their skill, because that's my overall objective. Not to be here forever, but to hand the job over to somebody else.
Amazing. Very insightful. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and share these insightful stories. Could you share with us 3 top tips that you might have for our audience that they can take away to help empower their communities to build faster field service with video intelligence?
One of the biggest things for me, and I know when we've been discussing this before, I don't think I mentioned this particular one, but hopefully you'll be comfortable. It's fail fast. If we use it, then we've got opportunity. And that, for me, that's one of the biggest things about it. The comment sections I've already mentioned, that instant feedback, because it's real time. I had one a couple of weeks ago. One of the lads did a video. I watched his video back when I got into the office at 6 a.m. I sent him down to back to the vehicle. Sent a message down on the chat box, comment box, sorry, and he went straight back to the vehicle that morning and re-videoed it and said, "Is that better?" So he actually took what I said because he was just too close to the vehicle. He needed to step back. So when he did that, and that saved me picking up a phone and phoning him, explaining to him what I was looking for. He just did it, and it was a real example. And for me, that was a huge positive in it. Just the speed of that initial response and getting that in there. I think that was a really critical point as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for your time. And we will have some questions in and around for you that we'll pick up with you near the end.
Cool. Happy with that. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Now we're going to move on to, I'd like to invite Will from SGN to the center of our stage. Will is the Senior Customer Experience Performance Officer at SGN and has been there for 9 years, working in various roles, supporting their customers and their teams to deliver a 10 out of 10 service every time. In Will's spare time, he also likes to be quite active and being out and about, which I think is amazing. And we're really excited to hear from you today, Will. So thank you for being one of our star speakers. So let's start off with just a general question around why did you feel the need to empower your communities, whether that's your team or your customer community, and kind of have that faster customer service?
I think what we kind of wanted to do was try and not be stagnant. And the reason why we wanted to do what kind of we're doing with Vyntelligence is looking at what our customers want, but also how we can improve internal best practice, but also enhance the overall journey for our customers. So it's about the overall service across both customer side and internal. So we really wanted to speed up how we currently do things and thinking about what's going to be the best way for us to do that. And video technology was going to be probably the best to be able to do that with. It was looking at if we can improve it internally, so it's better allocation of resources, so our own people being able to watch something, a video or whatever the customer's recorded, sending that in to us, where our staff internally would then be able to be in an office to view what's needed. It reduces time both for our own people but also for our customers, so it's really enhancing our operational tasks but really also enhancing our customer journey, so we don't remain stagnant in an ever kind of growing world and changing world of customer service.
Amazing. And how has the experience of trying to champion a new change and an innovation with a new innovation been for your organization and your teams?
So I think kind of looking at it and about championing that change was it was really bringing our people in on the change and the reason why we're doing what we're wanting to do. So it was really a bit of an education around what is Vyntelligence, what is the capability of it and why are we doing what we're doing. So we really wanted to get it basically from our own people to get involved in it, get their opinion, and their opinion matters. So it was really thinking, okay, if we were to bring this in, what would it look like? How can we measure its success? So what we wanted to do was really start getting a feet on the ground approach, but it was bringing people in with that new technology, having monthly meetings with the right people at the right time to talk about its success and that staggered approach. So it wasn't company-wide, it was region-specific. So we trialled it within our Scotland network with one region and our Southern network with another region, and then from there staggered it across all of our regions within our network to really kind of measure the success from it, but then to get the buy-in, I think was really then where we could champion that change, was the buy-in from our people, but then seeing our customers being able to use it as well. So the change then for internal was getting that buy-in, but then from our customers was making sure that they were confident in what we were asking them to do as well. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. We've obviously seen that on your website, you have various different ways for your customers to get in touch with you, to report issues or speak to your teams. Why have you had video as an option amongst the various different ones that you have, like phoning and emailing as well? And how does it fare in comparison to the other, more traditional methods?
Well, what we looked at was, why don't we give customers, now we've got our live chat, we've got telephone, and within the industry that we're in, sometimes it might be hard to articulate what it is that person's seeing on site. Now, if you record a video, it could be anything. You don't really have to articulate it, you can see it. So I think giving customers the opportunity to maybe record an inquiry, record potentially a complaint, one will allow the customer to feel confident that they've captured what it is they're trying to show us, because when you phone or use live chat, you have to articulate through word, and sometimes it can be difficult. So with video, it gives the customer that confidence to say, right, this is what I can see, this is why I'm contacting you. And then again, actually, when it comes in-house, the manager, the advisor, whoever it is that's looking at that video can see exactly what that customer's talking about as well. And it really builds that relationship. It makes sure then that we can put a resolution to that problem quickly, more effectively. And again, it kind of goes back to the first point as well that we're talking about, Shrey. It's that empowerment of the change with that. Because again, if someone's recording that and giving us that method of how they want to contact, it potentially saves a visit to site. Again, resolving that issue, if it's a complaint or resolving something for that person quickly, and using a resource. It could be someone in an office. They don't have to travel to site to rectify that. So that's why we kind of wanted to put it in that communication method.
I think that's a fantastic point, because we've all had to wait on calls and other ways to have a problem of ours or an issue in various different aspects of things that we do resolve, and to have that improve the speed with which issues can be resolved, I think is paramount to good customer service, right? That's essentially what we all want. And I think that segues really well into our next question, which is around then the specific value of video. What have you found as the value of video for you and your teams and your customers?
Absolutely. So if we look at it from a kind of internal perspective, first of all, I think it's the time element, depending obviously on the geographical areas. Now, we've got quite a large area within Scotland and our south and southeast of England, and to be quite honest, the travel time could vary. So something that could be watched and resolved quickly will kind of result in a time saving automatically, So that is the value first and foremost, is the time element. Yeah, it's then, if you look at it from a customer point of view, it's that confidence in being able to capture what the issue was, then again resolving it quickly as well, and it just makes customers feel that they've been heard and understood, which makes a big difference, and it gives customers the kind of the confidence to, I would say, properly articulate what it is they're wanting to tell us. So it really does enhance the overall experience for that customer, which again I would say really ties into that customer journey, because we don't want to remain stagnant, and that's one way that we can change is by it's an option that maybe a lot of companies don't use, and if I had the option, if it was a different company that I was using, where if I didn't feel confident explaining something, but I could show you, that then it's a value gained automatically. So you get value in your customer delivery, but value then to the cost to serve the community.
Makes a lot of sense then to have that. Earlier on, when we had a discussion previously, you mentioned that you guys have been able to cut down 55% of all unnecessary site visits. Can you share how adopting video intelligence technology like Vyn has helped contribute to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So where they can kind of self-report, I think kind of first and foremost, where customers can do that, and obviously kind of sharing, if they can see remotely what is needing to be done, it's saving it automatically. Unnecessary visits, we'll be able to maybe check for safeties, is making sure we get the right people to site or the right advice to our customers. So where we're asking them to do that, and then they send in that video again, they're confident that there's someone at the end of that watching, so they can see exactly what they've seen. And where we're able to save that visit, it's one, doing obviously great things for them, the cost to serve, but then for your carbon footprint too, and where customers then see it's a resolution quickly. So even though we're getting that 55% reduction, that's great, but we're still able to resolve what we need to by video, So even though it's a 55% saving, there's still work getting done in the background that potentially didn't need that visit. It saves then, obviously, if we're going to site, we can resolve any issues very quickly, and sometimes in less than 24 hours. It saves potential aborted visits if we were going to a property, if the customer wasn't in or it wasn't within our expertise, we have to advise next steps. All that can be done wherever that person is. They don't have to be in that geographical location. They may be 35 minutes away, but they're still able to resolve that for that customer. So there's your time saving of your 25 minutes, 35 minutes, but that cuts down into your 55% as well.
Amazing. I mean, I guess that's what it's all about, creating different efficiencies, right? Where you're still able to get the same amount of work done, the same issues or even more resolved, but having to expend less amount of resources. Yeah. And I think save visits for you especially are so important because you span a large geographical area, right? Yeah. You guys have a big area and a demographic that you look after. So how does the element of video empower and enable this geographically diverse community who would otherwise probably be rather inaccessible, right? So we're talking about things like cost of engineers traveling, carbon miles, and even things like internet connectivity.
Yeah, and that's where, again, you're in the deepest, darkest areas of Scotland, and the signal might not be fantastic. Sometimes it is, things do get better, but really what it does do is it really then basically, we talk about the cost of travel, we talk about the travel reduction, the time, the carbon footprint as well, but really what it does do, it allows us, if we're looking at that video and the customer's been confident to do that, we can get there. But if there's a customer in the deepest, darkest areas where they don't have that access to be able to record the video, they still have the other communication methods, and that's where the time then could be spent going to that customer where they needed that support. So we're never taking away the support of face-to-face. It's an option for the customer. And if they're able to do that, great, let's do that, let's work with them. But if they're unable to, or even if they did send that video and it wasn't something that we needed to be there, we would do the travel. But it just allows us to then make sure that we go to our customers who maybe need that extra help, who maybe are not able due to vulnerability, etc., to record that and they need that support on site, then we would go there. Yeah. But what it also kind of does is it bridges that communication. So where there is a quick turnaround for that customer, if we can do that over the phone and resolve it and get our teams to rectify an issue very quickly, great. They'll see that on-site activity happening, and all it took was that maybe 20, 30-second video to come through. But there's always that support if it's when needed. Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant, because then you have assurance, right, where you know that you're specifically targeting resources and sending people out to places where it's genuinely needed, and where it's not, then you're able to have the video tool do the job for you.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Will. This has been really insightful and very interesting to hear. Would you like to leave our audience with some top tips for how they can themselves look to empower their communities with video technology?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, it's ensuring that your people are trained on the activity, what Vyntelligence is. And again, depending on your own companies, whoever's on the call, you're going to have very different characteristics within the business. And a lot of people where they're maybe not technological savvy, but what I can say is my top tip is just make sure you spend your time with your people. Making sure that they do have the right access and know what needs to be done, because if a Vyn video comes through, we don't want to leave it sitting there for days upon days. You want to pick it up quick and give people the confidence that what the customer's recorded is what you're seeing too. So it's basically having that, bridging that gap. And I would say measuring the success, if you were going to be starting it, it's look at the reason why you want to implement it and then measure its success, because you will see very quickly that it really does enhance that customer journey and becomes something as part of the DNA, because then if you do start to use it, you can start to see more benefits. We started off by one aspect, we've now grown it to 3. So it started off with us thinking around our connections process. We've now put it into a communication channel, but also a channel around our emergency and repair response. So it'll start with one idea and then potentially it grows, but it's just allowing yourself to think outside the box is my top tip.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Will. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us, and there's some really great top tips. What I'll do now is just hand over to Mother, who will be able to recap on some of the top tips that we have had our speakers share today. Cool, Mother, I'll hand over to you.
All right, perfect. Thanks for that, Shrey. And thank you, Joe and Will. It's so nice to listen to both of you. I mean, I work very closely with both of you. And I've been there since the start, since we've implemented this for you guys. All the way from the early days of sort of putting it out in the field, getting the drivers and inspectors to do wins, and Will, for you to put it out to the customers. And now finally, SGN has also put the Vyn link on their websites for the customers to be able to report issues. So we've come a long way, and it's so nice to hear from both of you as to how this journey has been. So quickly getting into the top tips. So I think the first things that we heard from Joe was harness the power of video, right? It's multi-use. So obviously Vyn allows you to show and describe what you're seeing, take the sort of the video of the problem or sort of the inspection that you're doing. But hearing from Joe, it allows you to also start training your workforce, right? Allowing them to see and describe the right things and sort of enabling that coaching of the stuff. So again, video is useful in showing and describing, but there's multiple uses of it in terms of coaching and highlighting and then enabling that early connection between the two parties. Then the second one that we heard from him was involving senior management early, right? This allows them to, again, to have that quick collaboration between the on-field and the remote teams to be able to take that action quickly. Like he gave that example about the fifth wheel coupling, right? And sort of not being able to see that in the first go. And then Joe was just out there commenting, saying that, hey, do it again. So enabling that connect between the two teams on the field and sort of involving your management early enough, giving them that insights early enough is something that we learned from Joe. If you move on to the next one.
Yep.
Perfect. And then Will sort of took us through a different journey of how we can improve the experience of end customers who are sort of applying for new connections in their case. And in that, he starts off with making sure that his team is trained on the new system, right? Making sure that they are comfortable using it, because at the end of the day, it is they who will be looking at the videos, making that decision whether that they need to go out on the site or not. So just making sure that they are trained on the system, they are comfortable with what it looks and what it feels like. The second one is obviously, if you want to go on to the next one that I've written. Yeah, that's it. Supporting the teams by always sort of checking in for the feedback and learnings. And I think this is a big one, right? This is obviously Will pointed it out, but I think it's true for any scenario, even with Joe when we've worked with him. It's about getting that. It's about getting that feedback from on the ground, right? Understanding what's working for them, what's not working for them, and making those timely changes which actually bring about what the system can offer. And then the next thing he talks about, which was one of the things that he ended with, Will, was measuring the success and the learnings, right? Sharing it with the business areas monthly. So it's almost like you can start looking back on how successful the implementation of a technology has been. And so that you can also see the benefits of how the technology is brought in, and again bringing that buy-in of the teams to be able to use it more and more, and helping the widespread of the technology. And finally, and which is probably encapsulates the entire session for today, is empower your customers, right? Empower your customers with a technology where they have the ability to do something in their own time, right? Giving them a technology which is simple to use, easy to use, and enough value that they can get out of it by showing and describing something that they would have to wait for a surveyor to come and do. So thank you for all these top tips from Joe and Will. I think these are super helpful for everyone here on the call today. And for us just to remind ourselves as to what technology we use and how our customers use it. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Mother. We will also be sharing all of these top tips after the event with everyone who has attended and further around. So do keep a lookout for those. Now I invite Vineet to go through our questions that we have for our speakers.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So question-wise, I'll start with Will first, and it's more of a my question, because I was on day one, I was in the room with Will and the team in Edinburgh. And there was a lot of apprehension within the SGN team about people adopting it, because you were going to empower the communities, and there were all kind of demography out there. And there was a lot of apprehension whether people would be keen to do a video, will they speak, will they show, and how successful it would be getting the new connection applications where it started with, and then of course you expanded. Mm-hmm. How your experience has been so far, and do you think it has been a useful journey for yourselves and for your customers?
Absolutely. I think the apprehension was it was never done before, and I think that's where it was. It was the change from sending someone to a site compared to then having it done by video. So I think the apprehension was is the customer going to record the right thing? How do they know what to show us? They're not experts. Why would they? How would they know? And a lot of that came down to then working with our region and our regions, and actually thinking, okay, well, what is the basics we would need to see to be able to allow us to feel confident in doing what we're wanting to do with Vyntelligence? And I think where we then started to get a lot of the buy-in and the apprehension ceased, which was then they felt heard. And then again, the questions that we were asking then our customers, what we needed to see was very easy. You know, customers just had to show their property, walk around their property, show here to here. And our people who are experts are then able to see exactly the same thing, because that's what they would be doing, amongst other things, from being there. So having the basic information was then really empowering our own people to then go, actually, this does work. Now, of course, there is going to be some times where we don't get that video quality. And even though we've asked customers through Vyntelligence what we want to see, you can never guarantee that you're going to receive that information. And I think the apprehension was, well, if it's a 5-second video, well, how can we work with that? It was giving our people the confidence to say, well, you would still do what you do at the moment. You pick up the phone, arrange a visit and visit the customer. So I think it was just, if this is the new world, is this all it's going to be? And it wasn't. It's an option. It's giving our people the option. It's giving our customers the option. And it's just really somewhere that we can enhance what we already do. And that is delivering 10 out of 10 service. If we can get it right first time, then we can sort it very quickly as well. We can get things to site. We can support people who need it. So that's really where the apprehension was. I would say right at the start was, it's new. Why are we doing what already works? Why would we change it? And it's really just a daunting, a new kind of process, which is, we're still working with it, and that's why we've opened up to new options and avenues as well. But the apprehension is starting to lower now.
Brilliant. Thank you. For everybody else who is attending, you can type in your questions on the chat or Q&A, so feel free. Or you can unmute yourself, and if you want to ask a question directly, feel free as well. There's one for Joe, which is on the chat. And thanks, Aditya, for the question. And the question mainly is these days, it's not just about the technology, but changing the culture with simpler process. So how has been your culture change happening, and how has been your journey with that change? Did you face any resistance?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. We had one of our contractors has been very, very resistant. However, we just pushed them to the side. Their contract will end in the next few months, and we won't be moving forward with them if they're not prepared to take an opportunity at no cost. And at the end of the day, it's no risk. It was a win-win. Vyn is a win-win for us, and we see it greatly as in that assurance market. But there is resistance out there. I think you put it right when you said it's about management of change. It's very important that we get people to understand that technology can be helpful and useful in how we drive things forward. But I think Will said it very clearly there. It's an option. It's not the be-all and end-all. And I think we see that as well, very much so. It gives us the option to assure our activities much better. And we want to take that option.
Right. Similar lines, there is a question, Joe, for you separately, is how did you convince the drivers to go on the journey? It's not easy.
To be honest, that was the easiest part. And I know my door only met a couple of our drivers. They are local community drivers. They're one man, one truck, and they're desperate to utilise this. We've said we'll run this out into our drivers in Q3 this year, and that'll help us in how things are progressing within our activities. But every time I go visit in the site, straight away the drivers are messaging me, or they see me there, and it's, when can we use it? We like it. We like the idea. They can use it very early in the morning when they start their trips. Then they come in, they get loaded, and it just saves so much time in their process. throughout the day. They no longer have dead time where they're waiting for an inspection. They've already done their part. It's verified online. Then they move forward to the next step in their process. So they're actually very, very, I would say it's pull. And it's the same in the buses that we've recently started utilising in this. And the bus drivers are actually pulling. They're saying this is better than the paper checklist that we used to do. We just do the video. It's quick. It's easy. It goes into the head office, and that's it. It's done. It's not just the site supervisor anymore that sees it. It's at all levels up management that need to see it. So massive step change in culture, acceptance.
Great point. You save the dead time of the drivers and for waiting for the auditors or the people to turn up and look at the vehicles. Great. There's one on the chat for you, Will. What are your consumer feedback or on the experience of using a video technology?
So we've not really had any kind of direct. So how we would then capture it is through kind of customer satisfaction surveys, and where there may not be a direct kind of comment or correlation to using Vyntelligence, what we have seen is where customers who have had the Vyntelligence link have scored us very highly, because we do survey not just in one question but the overall journey from the customer. So that's why it's not directly just correlated to Vyntelligence. And where we're seeing really good scores coming well above 9, where you look at the pool of customers that have used Vyntelligence, be that through our connection stream, we have seen very high scores coming through from it. So yeah, that's what we've kind of noticed.
And CSAT is a big measure in your industry.
Say that again, sorry, Vinny.
The customer satisfaction scores is a big measure of your industry.
Yes, so we obviously kind of 10 out of 10 is what we kind of always aim for. So it's a challenge within itself. So we aim for that. So giving that customer the option and then getting some really good scores coming from there, it really does enhance that kind of service delivery overall from start to finish, then right at the start of the process.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the questions are still open.
Yeah, we will do our star winners. So if we have any questions that come through at that point, then we can take those and get those answered by speakers separately and let people know. Absolutely. So thank you, Vinny, for getting our questions. And thank you once again to both of our speakers, Will and Joe, for being here. I'm going to invite Mother to talk about our star winners and announce who they are.
Star Winners is essentially a way, it's probably the segment I love. It's because it allows us to give us a chance to celebrate the Vynners community event. And it allows us to bring about the light on the winners who've been absolute stars on the field, or sort of in the back office, depending on how they use Vyn. And it just allows us to celebrate the cultural shift or the technology acceptance that they've showed in order to incorporate Vyn into their new processes, right? So with that, I would like to welcome 2 star winners today. Both of them are from Petroleum Development of Oman, PDO, right? The first one we've got is Alam Namani. Alam, I've met her. She's an absolute champion when I was in Oman in the past 2 months. And she is helping Joe drive out and training of Vyn on a wider spread, right? It's about getting more drivers, getting more contractors on board, getting them to get on Vyn, helping them understand the application and getting them to do videos. So she's been a huge supporter, and I would just, if it's okay, everyone can just go off mute and we can just give it a big round of applause. Let's start. Good, perfect. Do we have Alam on the call? If she could say a few words, or
She was before, but I think she's dropped now.
No. Joe, anything from your side about Alam?
No, I think you said it all. She took this on. She's taking control. She's keeping me in check, which is fantastic. She's freeing up my time to look at videos by driving it forward with the teams. She'll be pushing you shortly for the dashboard. So very, very positive on this. embracing technology and moving things forward. Very, very excellent start.
That's good. I can see a customer success request right there for a dashboard, but I'll ignore that for now. And coming to our second star winner, Salim Pusaidi. So Salim was one of the star winners during our trial that we did with PDO last year, right? And his example correlates with what Joe said earlier in his intro with Shrey. And Salim was one of the persons who actually used Vyn, right, the video, to find the brake booster disconnected, right, which essentially saved, a fatality that Joe talked about. So again, it's just about how he's accepted the technology, how he's used it on the field, and making use of what Vyn can offer. So I don't think, again, Salim's on the call, but big round of applause for him as well for taking this on. And yeah, Joe, do you want to add anything? I know he's not on the call, but just let you say a few words if you want.
Salim's moved positions. He's now moved into the interior. He's into Fahood now. And he'll be driving the project from inside the operations team in there, which for me is great because I've got an experienced guy on the ground who immediately knows he can just pick up the phone if he needs to, but he also knows he can just use the comment box on the videos to highlight the issues, and he knows we're looking. So it's really, really positive. A great acceptance of something new for him. And he actually, if I recall correctly, he's done the most Vyns in our business. I think when we did 540, he's in a very, very high score amongst them.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, cool. Thank you for that. And thank you to both our star winners. Well, we don't have them here today, but I'm sure we'll have more to celebrate in our next events. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be sending out these certificates to them as well so that they have them available for them.
Thank you. Sure.
And finally, so we've done the Q&A. So finally, just to wrap up, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined us on our 9th installment of the Vynners community. We have some takeaways that you're able to scan with your phone. We have 2 case studies that are relevant to the kind of topics that we've discussed today. And if it's something that you're interested in, you can have a look at all the different utilities customers that we work with across the industry and see the different benefits that they've got from using video intelligence, how they've empowered their communities, how they've improved customer service and built a proactive health and safety culture. That's the QR code on the right, which is our compendium. And then we have the 2 other case studies as well. So I'll give you just a quick chance to scan any of those that are available. And apart from that, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who's joined. And once again, to our star speakers, these contributions that we get from our community I think are paramount to a lot of the work that we do here at Vyn and the community that we're continuing to build to share this experience and knowledge with people so that we can champion innovation and hit all of the core values that we mentioned early on. So thank you to everyone for joining, and we will see you in a couple of months for our next installment. Thanks a lot.